Hello, family. I am Shantae Dixon. I am the youngest of Mary Rhodes Burton Mason, who is also known as Joanne. And I want to share about her journey once she left Georgia. You heard earlier about her humble beginnings, but I want to share about the Rhodes family Detroit legacy, which began in 1960 when Mary Joanne, upon freshly graduating from high school in Greensboro, and grieving the loss of her beloved Sarah, left Georgia in search of a new beginning. She came to Detroit to live with her brother Harvey, his wife Leila, and family, which included their children Jackie, Harvey, also known as Sonny, and Gloria. She was seeking healing and opportunity. It was a great leap of faith that laid the foundation for generations to come. In Detroit, Mary reconnected with her Aunt Pauline, the baby sister of Charlie Rhodes. Together, Pauline, Harvey, and Mary Joanne helped to anchor the family's presence in the city, building a strong network through gatherings, care, and kinship. Mary returned briefly to Georgia to care for May, but soon returned to Detroit to continue building her life. In 1962, she welcomed her first child, Regina. 2 years later, in 1964, she married the love of her life, Robert Lee Burton Sr., a hard-working, devoted father to Robert, Naomi, and Sammy. Together, Mary and Robert blended their families and began a new chapter. Mary and Robert soon had one child, Felicia, and then endured three consecutive losses, two miscarriages, and one stillbirth. These were very painful chapters, marked by grief and quiet sorrow, yet they also revealed the depth of Mary's strength and unwavering faith. Early in their marriage, although living in the North, Mary and Robert were not insulated from the deep injustices which still gripped the country. They remained attentive and involved in the push for civil rights and equity. Their commitment was soon put to the test during the Detroit Uprising of 1967. That was a time of deep unrest and community fracture that the city has still reeled from even to this date. But they stood firm, devoted to one another, their children, and the principle that dignity should never be up for debate. In time, they were blessed to add two more children to their brood, Charmin and Shantae. New life arrived not as a solution to sorrow, but as a continuation of their deep and enduring love. Mary was more than a mother and a stepmother. She was a matriarch to many. Their home became a refuge, not only for their children, but for neighbors, co-workers, and others in need of a fresh start. Whether someone was facing eviction, a job loss, or simply had nowhere else to go, Mary and Robert opened their door without hesitation. Their home was modest but generous, their hearts even more so. Though Mary built a beautiful life in Detroit, Georgia never left her spirit. The family made regular trips back, keeping ties strong and traditions alive. She and Robert remained married for 32 years until his illness and passing in 1996. In 2003, Mary made the deeply personal decision to relocate back to Georgia, this time with her two grandchildren in tow, Ashley and Jasmine. It was more than a move, it was a return to her heart's longing. Though she had spent much of her life in Detroit, Georgia was where her soul rested. And more than anything, she longed to connect with her siblings, those she had not grown up with. That unfulfilled connection has always left a quiet ache in her spirit, a longing to experience sisterhood and family bonds that time and distance had complicated. By 2007, she returned to Detroit, understanding that as time passed, She needed to be closer to her children and grandchildren. It wasn't an easy choice for her, but it was the right one, coming back to where her support system stood ready and where love waited with open arms. Then something unexpected happened. At the age of 75, love found her again. Mary married Joseph, and they soon relocated to Georgia. They spent 3 peaceful years there before Mary's health would soon change. Recognizing that they could no longer manage without help, she returned once more to Detroit, and this time with Joseph, who would soon face his own decline. Mary, having been cared for, now became caregiver once again. Theirs was a love that stretched and served until the end. They shared 8 meaningful years, a chapter that proved life can still surprise you, even in your 70s. Mary's life has been marked by profound love and equally profound loss. So after her first husband, Robert, she lost her cherished Aunt Pauline, who was affectionately known as Grandma to her children. Over the years, she said goodbye to her sibling cousins who shaped her journey, including Katie, Harvey, May, and Peggy. She also mourned the loss of her birth siblings, Daisy, William, Grady, Florida, Clady, Hazel, and Etherline, each one a thread in the fabric of her identity and legacy. And in 2012, she experienced her greatest heartbreak, the loss of her firstborn daughter, Regina. That is a sorrow that has left a permanent imprint on her soul. In 2023, she endured another crushing blow with the passing of her granddaughter, Ashley, Regina's oldest daughter. And in 2025, she lost her second husband, Joseph, with whom she shared 8 years of love and companionship. Yet, even in grief, Mary's resilience shines. Today, Mary Joanne is the sole surviving member of Sarah Stone's clan, one of 2 surviving members of Charlie Rhodes' offspring. She is mother to her surviving children, Felicia, Charmin, and Shantae, stepmother to Robert and Sammy. Naomi has passed, grandmother to 14 grandchildren, Marquise, Kiana, Kiwani, Henry, Brandon, Ashley, Saraya, Raymond, Arnisha, Jasmine, Deja, Angelo, DeAndre, and Cheyenne, and great-grandmother to 25 great-grandchildren. Through it all, triumphs, tragedies, transitions, Mary has remained anchored in her faith. Her journey from Georgia to Detroit, and back to Georgia, to Detroit again, through loss, love, motherhood, and leadership, is a living legacy of fortitude and grace. She has lived through hardship and healing, segregation and progress, loss and renewed love. But through every season, her faith has guided her. Her story, rooted in both Detroit and Georgia, is one of quiet strength, deep care, and the kind of legacy that doesn't just get remembered, it gets passed on. Thank you, family, for allowing me to share, and have a wonderful family reunion. Hope to see you next year.